Hey everybody, if you're watching this, this marks basically the 1 year anniversary of me learning to fly a paramotor. That was March 29th, 2022. So to celebrate, I am going to look back through my first 5 paramotor flight videos, which actually cover up to flight number 8 for me. But let's just jump right into it. We'll look back at it, let you know what my thoughts are now that I've been in the air for a while, and kind of reminisce and talk about what happened behind the scenes on those first couple of videos. Alright, video number 1. Way back. Boy.
Gotta make sure he doesn't.
Avery's first flight. Yep. Very basic video editing skills, and one camera. Start off with the one GoPro. I actually got a copyright strike for this music. Apparently people in Russia can't listen to it. I don't know why. Nice narrow video angle instead of the wide super view that I use nowadays. Very good content. Oh, and watch the front tuck. Oh, see, I almost had an entire front collapse by pulling too much A's as I ran. Freaking weird T-pose running. But wow, it really swept me off my feet. I was kind of surprised when it did. This was the first and last time I used this GoPro GPS junk. It didn't work reliably at all. Yeah, and I don't have music this loud anymore either. So very bad camera angle, very bad audio management. And you see the GoPro GPS just kind of fall apart. I don't know why. It thinks I'm descending really sharp and losing speed, and I'm not. But whatever. And I just kept staring at the ground. I don't know why, I really never looked up. It was just, I was flying like, oh god, am I really doing this? Straight down the whole time. I remember seeing that smoke off in the distance and thinking, that's completely sideways from where I took off from. I have to fly in crooked, and that really worried me for some reason, but just kind of adapt to whatever the wind does. It really wasn't that big of a deal. I actually wasn't supposed to be the first one to fly today. It was supposed to be Tui on the left side of the screen, but he buffed one, and I got to go first, so let's see the flare here. Timed perfectly with the video. Wow. That audio timing, 10 out of 10. And I forgot to kill the engine. I remember being surprised, like shocked, when my feet touched the ground. It's like jump from a kitchen chair onto a treadmill. It really surprised me. I was like, huh. And you'll see me kind of stumble here. There we go. And I was like, oh, like my legs just weren't there to catch me. It was kind of bizarre. But all things considered, it was a good flight.
It was weird getting swept off.
And now for flight number 3, my real big boo-boo. This is a bad takeoff. Fantastic example of why you want to stabilize the wing before you hit the gas, because I did not. Let's watch. Oh, and I was still using the Veterazi throttle. So, inflation was good, but it went to the right. And I thought, oh, I'll just gas it and run under the wing. As you can see, my torque takes me to the right, the inflation took me to the right. Oof. Yuck. I kind of hesitated on throttle too on the climb out, and it didn't help. This was the first flight I did with a wingtip camera. You'll see how close I got. Bad setup. You see how much I'm rocking? Oof, had to lift my feet to clear that tree. I really like that angle on the wingtip instead of down from the center like everybody else seems to do. I don't know, just shows more of the world. And I remember to use wide angle this time. Super view. Thanks, GoPro. Head and on the wing. You see that really made a difference. This was actually the first time I flew with another pilot in the air at the same time as me, which isn't a big deal, but I don't know, I was very fixated on making sure I didn't hit anybody. So this was a slightly longer flight. I did 2 whole circuits, and as you can see, coming back in and starting to land now, making sure I'm not going to hit anybody. Ooh. Knowing what I know now, I would never fly like this over people's houses. I'm going to say I was coursing down the tree line, but it's really not good form. I should have come down from the field and made a turn. I did remember to kill the engine this time. It felt kind of weird killing it that high up, but I did, and this was really the first landing that felt like it was intentional. Like, I hit the ground, and I'm cheering because I went, yeah, I knew how to land. I did that on purpose. Like, flights 1 and 2, I both landed on my feet, but this flight number 3 was really the one where I felt like I landed on my feet on purpose. Like, it wasn't an accident. You see Donald in the distance there showing me how to flare. It helped.
Yeah!
Going for flight number 4 and 5. I do a touch and go in this, so I don't know if you consider a touch and go another flight. I now don't, but I guess at the time I did. We'll call it 4.5. Doing some kiting here. I really like basically building a wall and walking it downwind instead of bundling the wing up to reset. It's a very fine kiting management skill that I've taught myself. I thought it was pretty useful. And I get a little hop here, little torpedo run action. Go, baby Avery. Yes. Flare. Good. This takeoff was really long, but that camera placement that I tried at the top of the wing, no good. You can see when I get video footage that my dad recorded right there in the red shirt, I actually have a collapse on the middle of the wing as I inflate. So if you're using a mid-wing mounted camera, put it halfway down the cord instead of right at the leading edge. See this shake, little kind of bobs? That's a collapse. The weight of the camera caused a collapse on an inflation. And I lucked out that I was able to run fast enough to get it up. But watch this. The whole wing dips down. Look at that. Wow. Jeez. Once I get going fast enough, it recovers, but don't put your camera there. Coming back from my first landing here, looks like the wind not going down the runway doesn't really faze me anymore. I completely ignore the instructors off to the side showing me when to flare. This one I felt pretty confident about, and turned it into a touch and go. Again, I don't really think that counts as a second flight, but just keep running and gas it again. Go, go, go. I don't know why I waited so long to get back on the throttle. You see me checking the left, look to the right, and then I commit to it. I don't know, it's way more running than I needed to do. But you notice not smooth throttle employment. So flare, I start running again, looks great. Still looks great.
Alright.
Could have gotten on it, go, 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 power, power. Once I get off the ground though, it kind of hesitates. I don't know what I was thinking of, like, I guess I considered that I was swinging out too far and I was climbing too fast, but my weight with that kind of power, I'm not going to stall or anything. Once you commit to the power, stay on it. You don't want to cause pitch oscillations. And at the end of the flight, I thought the wind was tracking more across the runway, but as I descend, I hit some sink. Yeah, pretty bumpy. and kind of swing, realize the wind's coming more down the runway, and steer as I'm setting up for landing, which is a really good skill to have now. I use it all the time. Avoid everybody. Set it down. Perfectly fine.
Oh.
I don't know why I grunt every time I land. It's like I stop breathing as I flare. I don't know. You can see from here it's pretty bumpy. I'm swinging around. And at the last moment, you see those little bit of right brake input to put me back into the wind. Probably helped cause oscillation, but stuck landing anyways. Flare? Yes. My mom was really sketched out about that landing. Listen to this.
Land is coming in funny.
Yeah.
It's not coming in good. Oh.
That was fine, Mom. Kind of ignore the oscillations and just flare when you need to. That was a good one. On to Flight 5. This is one where I really felt like I was confident enough to fly on my own. So no instructor comms, and basically freewheeled it. Did a few not great dick moves, if memory serves, but it was a good one either way. I'm still kind of psyched out about being able to run hard enough. Yes, you can! I feel like I'm too scrawny to bring the wing up with the motor on my back. I totally can. But it does help to get on the throttle earlier. You hear it bog. I needed to kind of work it in there. It was a bad tune. There we go. Unlike flight number 1, you see I took off with a lot more space. I don't know why I decided to do this 2-camera view. It's not very good to follow. Yeah, so there's a bunch of motors and wings laid out on the field. I'm not sure what I was thinking with coming down low and doing a pass like this. I wasn't going to land, I just thought it'd be cool to fly low, but not a good look. Especially at an active airport. So, lesson learned. I don't do that anymore. I'm not sure, but I think this is the first time I fly with Tui. We're solo buddies. We actually had our solos on the same day, flight number 1. He was supposed to launch first. He didn't have enough speed on his launch or wasn't pulling the A's or something. So I ended up flying just before him. Should have been switched, but one of my good friends who flies down near Charlotte, so I try to keep up with him. Turns out his wing is faster than me, and at this time my trims were locked, so I'm not catching up with him. But he's doing gradual right turns, but I figure, just a lesson from my video game time, if I stay on the inside of his turn, I'll keep up with him a little better. So I do. I later get scolded for being so close to him, but I don't think I was in any danger. He certainly, I don't think, even knew that I was there. Stayed behind him the whole time. Man, another low pass. What was I doing? Not a good look. Kind of obnoxious to the instructors and the airport owner. I'm glad Ryan thought it was cool enough to put on Instagram, but come on, past me, come on. So here's some fun. I gained a little bit of altitude, and after watching so much YouTube, I really wanted to know how tight I could make the turns, because I've seen people just ring these things around like they're on rails. So at this time, this was the tightest I'd ever turned. It wasn't even close to wingtip to the horizon, but I felt like it was pretty sporty, just kind of ripping them left and right really hard. It's all about progression. You don't just go head first into a wing over or something like that. You build up to it. And here I was just feeling out what tight turns felt like and what the wing could do and what I was comfortable with. Kick up my legs, yes, to let them know I wanted to land this time for real after 2 total bozo low approaches. Kill the motor. Kill the motor. There we go. Jeez. Yeah, and I remember specifically looking away from Donald on this so that I wasn't relying on him for the flare timing. Touchdown just fine. And then he scolds me for being too close to Toby the whole time.
I'm gonna go.
Okay, flight 7 and 8. This one I labeled a lot of firsts, so a lot of first times done on this flight. Let's see what we got. So one first I don't think I mentioned in the video was that, as far as I know, I was the first person to take off this day. I don't think instructor or anybody tested the air before I flew. Yeah, get that wing under control. We're not taking off like that, not repeating flight number 3 again. There we go. Yeah, keep those legs down. Nice. It's a long takeoff, but it was a controlled takeoff. That's what counts. One of the big firsts for me was that thing you see down there on my wrist. I made that. It's called Open Gauge. Shameless plug, opengauge.com, open-gauge.com. They are open source, free to build, plans freely available flight instruments for ultralights, mostly paramotors, but I have one version that's just altitude and climb rate, and another one that incorporates some GPS features. I actually developed that before I learned to fly, and I thought I'd be using them a lot more because they really aren't flight instruments, but I really never did. Anyways, they're out there if you want them. Very helpful little display there showing me my altitude above ground and above sea level, so that's how I know I reached 1,000 feet. That was a big first for me, some kind of milestone to pat myself on the back with. Yeah, and the first time I ever tried using cruise control. It's kind of a weird system to get used to, but once it engaged, it was pretty intuitive. I'm happy. I don't use it very much, but when I do longer flights, I tend to engage it if I've got somewhere to be. So long flights without having to baby your throttle. Yeah, and I had already stowed my brakes before this, but first selfie, you know you're not a real paramotor pilot if you don't take a selfie. Wow, that's shaky video. My trims are still locked, so chasing anybody is in vain. And then I drop into a little field here. I have real hesitation with going below the tree line at this point. I'm not sure why that is. When you're at idle, if the engine dies, you're just committed to landing in that area. But somehow, I think in my head, if I stay an extra 100 feet above the trees, it's inherently safer. I'd still end up landing in the field that I'm ridiculously close to. It doesn't really gain anything. But, oh well. I call that my first cross country because I was out of view of the LZ, or rather the instructors on the LZ. And then I decided no, that was baby steps. We're going to go a little further down to this field, which is more like a half mile away instead of a quarter mile. And once again, you can see I was terrified to drop below the tree line on this. I don't know why. Whatever. Progress isn't linear. You don't have to jump in head first, so nothing wrong with that. Just looking back now, I think it's funny. Also in the air here, we've got I think that's Tui, and then over on the left we had 2 other paramotors. Honestly, I want to think one of them was Bobby. Another one was some guy who showed up on a undersized Atom 80 for his weight and a bright white gin wing. It's the first time I'd ever seen him, but he fly just fine. Stayed out of everyone's way. So I went for another dick move low pass, and right there, that click, that was a prop strike. So part of my pre-flight was to make sure the spark plug was in, but I never really looked to make sure that the temperature gauge that I had wedged under the spark plug for cylinder head temperature was not shaking loose, and over time it had. So on this, my 7th flight, my temperature gauge separated for the 2nd time, granted. And this time the wire was long enough to send it through the propeller. So I don't fly with the temperature gauge anymore, but blew up the propeller, put a hole through it, landed. I was kind of pissed off about it, but I did fix it, and we got another flight in. So I guess technically my first prop strike and my first prop repair on the same day. Yeah, I still have that chunk. It's sitting right here under the camera. And the most glamorous of repairs, definitely. So we go for another flight. Takeoff was uneventful, and I think to myself, ooh, I'll catch up to the guys doing cross-country, returning from one of the big fields or the solar farm just north of there. As you can see, I'm still trimmed in and still have my trims locked, so I don't stand a chance. They're gonna blast right by me. I know one of them is Adam. He's flying I think it's a Roadster on a Parajet frame. I'm not sure who the other pilot is. It might be Josh. I don't know. Yeah, my wing's slower and I knew it. So I just let him pass and I took a couple pictures as they flew over. This time I do a low pass, but I make a foot drag out of it. For once there was nobody landing. But if you see right in front of me here, that's Adam and whoever the green ACCO wing was making left traffic for a landing. And I was basically opposing them, so that's pretty bad form on my part for flight number 8 there. Anyways, at least I go right. If you're oncoming traffic, you're both supposed to turn to the right. So I went right. They were relatively right of me already, and I just joined them for return back to the field. Doing some last minute steering again. Go me. Nice and smooth. Oh, it's Bobby. Hi, Bobby. It's a good landing.
Good one.
Well, there you go. My first 8 flights, but really my first 5 YouTube videos about paramotor flying. I picked it up pretty fast, I think. I don't know. What do you think? Drop it down in the comments below. But it really came natural to me, I think. I was never scared, and I took progression pretty normally and at my own pace, and got off of the instructor umbilical cord, I guess, from not needing to communicate with them pretty early, and I've been going crazy ever since. Flight number 9, immediately after this, I flew at the Yadkinville LZ for the first time alone. So that was fun, but not part of the first 5 videos, so didn't make the cut. Anyways, if you liked it, like and subscribe, you know, all that YouTube jazz. I'm sure you're tired of hearing it by now. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.